One more shot at forgiveness. I know you know that I made those mistakes maybe once or twice. By once or twice I mean maybe a couple of hundred times. So let me redeem myself tonight.
Hi creatives, welcome back to the channel. And if you're new, welcome to the community of creative minds. So this outfit was requested by one of you, and on this video I'll be showing you how I created the wrap top. So let's get started. As usual, I'll be drafting on my pattern paper, so feel free to use your fabric if you don't have a pattern paper. Now what I'm doing is showing you how many inches allowance I'm going to use as my wrap. So I'm going to be leaving 6 inches. That is the wrap allowance I'll be using. So if you have your fabric with you, go ahead and fold it into 2 and then mark from the close edge, mark 6 inches in. This is for your wrap allowance. And if you have your pattern paper, just go ahead and mark along with me. Now I'll be showing you the length of my top, and I made it 17 inches, so that is the decision you need to make. Go ahead and determine how long you want your top to be. And if you have your fabric folded into 2 to mark along with me, make sure you cross check before you cut. And I'll be telling you what not to do, because this pattern I am using right now is for both the front and the back pattern. So now on the top of my pattern paper, I'll go ahead and divide my shoulder measurement by 2. And then I'll mark this. From that point, from the shoulder measurements, I'll go down by 1 inch. So I'm just dropping my shoulder by 1 inch. I'll connect the slope to the neckline. And this is the neckline. Remember, we left 6 inches first. Now from the slope, I'm going to mark my armhole. And I'll go ahead and divide my round armhole by 2. I'll divide my round armhole measurement by 2, and then I'll mark this down from the slope. I'll confirm if what I have on my shoulder measurement is what I have on my armhole line. So I'll confirm and adjust. I'm just going to go ahead and rule a straight line to meet from the shoulder line to, that's from the slope down to the armhole points, like this. I also rule an horizontal line. This is where the armhole curve will be sitting. Now from the top of my pattern paper, I'll go ahead and mark my bust points. For the beginners, do not doubt yourself. Just go ahead and mark along with me. Now I'll indicate my waist point. So from the top of the pattern, I'll place my tape like this, and then I'll mark my waist point. So this is my bust point. Hope you have your bust point indicated and your waist point. And the last one is the length. I just put CF there so you guys know that this is the center front. So I'll mark my round bust divided by 4. My round bust divided by 4, I'll mark that down on my bust point. And then I'll connect the line to the armhole line. Straight up like this. Now to work on the armhole, I'll divide my armhole into 2 to find the middle point. So I'll place my tape and indicate the middle point of the armhole. And the middle point is 4 inches because I have 8 inches as my armhole. Now from that 4 inches middle point, I'll go in by ½ an inch. Now that ½ an inch is where I'll be creating the front armhole. So if you have your fabric folded into 2, you need to create the front armhole because that's the front you're creating. So I'll connect this with a curve like this to the point where the armhole is meeting the bust line, and then I'll connect it like this with the curve to the slope. if you have your fabric folded into two, you don't need to create the back armhole. This is how you create the back armhole. You connect with the cord from the middle point like this, but you don't need to create this now on your fabric, because this is what you're creating right now is the front. So once you're done creating the front, all you have to do is recreate this pattern again, and then do the back armhole like this, like as I have there indicated, and then you create the back neckline. So I'm just dividing my round waist divided by 4, and then I'm just going to mark that point and then connect it to the bust point, and I'll mark what I have on my waist points. I'll mark that on the length. Now connect this to the waistline. Now on the pattern paper, I'm just going to add ½ an inch as my allowance. So you can add 1 if you want, but for me, I'm just adding ½ an inch, because when I'm cutting on the fabric, I'm just going to add ½ an inch more again to this. Like I'll cut and add ½ an inch. Now, if you have your fabric, not your pattern, if you have your fabric folded into two, do not create the back neckline. But for those that are doing this step with me, like you're creating a pattern first before you cut on the fabric, go ahead and create the back neckline, because I'll show you how to cut with one pattern. Now I'm just marking the neck width. The neck width for me is 3.5 inches, and the neck width is the same for both the front and the back. And now I'm just going to go down by 1 inch for the neck depth. So for the people using fabric, don't create this one on your fabric. So I'll connect the neck depth to the neck width like this. So this is my back neckline, and I'm going to create the front neckline now. So for the people using the fabric, now let's create the front neckline. I'll go down by 8.5 inches as my neck depth for the front piece, 8.5 inches. And then I'll connect it to the neck width like this. So just go ahead and connect to your neck width. So I'll connect this to the wrap allowance I have. And before I do that, I'm just going to extend the waist points out to the wrap measurements. So the waistline I have on my bodice, I'll extend it like this out to my 6 inches. And now I can connect this to my front neckline like this. So go ahead and do this if you have your fabric folded into two. So I'll adjust. And now I'll also extend the length, like my top length that I have on the pattern. I'll extend it to the 6 inches allowance. And this is the front neckline. I'm cutting out the back first because this pattern is acting as my back pattern and my front pattern. So I'm just going to go ahead and cut out the back first. So if you have your fabric folded into two, all you have to do is just cut through the line where you have your neckline for the front. Use your scissors and go through that line, and that is your front. I'm just going to indicate that this, the front pattern, this 6 inches here, the wrap allowance makes it the front pattern, and then this is the back. So when I'm cutting my back pattern, all I have to do is fold in the wrap allowance that I have, and this is my back pattern. So I have my fabric folded into two. What I will do now is place my pattern on this, and like I said, I'm cutting the back pattern first. So I have the wrap allowance folded in. So I'll just place the pattern like this on my fabric, and then I'll use heavy objects to hold this down. I'm using my book to hold this down. You can go ahead and use your pins and pin this down so it doesn't move while you cut, but I'll be using the book. And also remember to leave allowance on your fabric while you're cutting. So this is my back piece. This is the back piece, and this is how it looks. Now, before I cut out the front, I'm just going to cut out the neckline. So this is the neckline. I asked the people that has their fabric folded into two to cut. So I'm going to cut through the neckline. So that's my front neckline. And also the armhole, I'm going to cut that too, but while I'm cutting my fabric, that's when I'll cut the armhole. So also have the fabric folded into two. I'll place my front pattern, and remember that I'm just showing you that you need to cut the armhole. Remember to cut the armhole, and also remember that your front is going to be into two, so you are supposed to have two pieces for your front. So make sure that your fabric is splitted into two after cutting, and remember to leave allowance. I sometimes say this in my video that it is better for the outfits to be big so you can adjust than it to be too small. So make sure you leave allowance. Now I'm cutting through the front armhole, so remember to cut out your front armhole. So now I have my front piece, and this is how it looks. And it should be into two like this.
I try, but I don't do so well with apologies. Hope I don't run out of time, cause someone call a referee. Cause I just need one more shot.
Now I'm just going to hem the neckline. That's the front neckline. I'm going to hem this in by ½ an inch. But you can be able to create a facing, or you can have a lining. You can try to attach it to the lining, but I'm just going to hem the neckline. And before I do that, I'll be attaching the front piece to the back piece. I'll place the fabric right side facing right side. This is the front piece on the back piece. I'll sew the sides, I'll sew the shoulder, and then I hemmed everything together by ½ an inch like this. And this came out really nice, as you can see. So what I will do now is take this to the machine and hem the base of the top together. So I'm just going to go ahead and hem the base of the top just as I did on the neckline. I'll hem everything. So now that is done. I'm done hemming this in. So I'll place my tape to find out how many inches I have here so I can be able to cut out the band. So this is what I found out. I have 2 inches. Now this is the fabric for the band, and I cut the fabric in the way that I can be able to double it, like I can be able to fold this in. So what I have here as the width of the band is 5 inches, because I'll fold this into 2 and sew to get my 2 inches. And this is what I'm showing you. I'm just going to fold it in like this, but I'll be folding it in with the top. I'll show you guys. And go ahead and make your band as long as you want. I made my 47 inches long, so you can make it 60, you can make it, you can just make it what you want. Now this is how I'll be joining the band, the fabric I'm using as the band. This is how I'll be joining it to the top. I'll sew this in like this and then turn it to the right side. Now if you don't have enough fabric and you don't want to cut the fabric and have like a band that is doubled, all you have to do is cut out the fabric like this and make sure you cut out excess so that you can hem all edges, and you have clean edges. And then the part that you did not hem, you go ahead and attach that part to the top like this, and that is it. So I have done that. I have attached my band, and this is what I did. This is what I was talking about. I doubled my band, and I made sure that the sewing is at the base. Now we're almost done. We just need to attach the sleeves, so I'll go ahead and place my tape to find out how much fabric I need for my sleeves. Now this is the fabric for the sleeves, and the width for my fabric is 15 inches. Now remember that the top that we're trying to recreate has like a puffy sleeve, so for me to be able to achieve that, I have 15 inches as the width, and then the length I'm using is 15.5 inches. So go ahead and make your sleeves as long as you want, and then also as wide as you want. And my fabric here is folded into two, so make sure that the fabric you're using is folded into two. Now from the close edge of the sleeves, I'm just going to mark 7 inches in, and that part is where I'll be gathering. Like that is like not like where I'll be gathering all the sleeves, but that part is where I'll do most of the gathering. So I just marked out just the way we marked out 6 inches as the wrap of the top. Now we're taking like 7 inches in as the allowance that we're going to use as the gathers for those sleeves. I'm going to notch the allowance, so I don't go into the allowance. I'm going to notch it, and then from that line, after the 7 inches, I'll go ahead and create my sleeve. So I'll go in by 3 inches, and then I'll go down by 6 inches. This is like a trick I do in achieving my sleeve very fast. I have like a very clear video on how you can be able to create sleeves, so I think you should go watch that. If you're a beginner, that is what you need, not this. This is just a trick for me to be able to achieve my sleeves like quickly like this. So I'll connect this with like an S shape. If the S is not that sharp, just this is the line. I'll go ahead and cut, and I'll make sure that when I cut, I don't go into the 7 inches allowance. I'll just stop at the notch. So yeah, stop at the notch. So now just go ahead and sew a gather stitch on the top like this. I'll sew a gather stitch on the sleeve like this, the opening. I'll gather, yeah, like this, so I can be able to gather it. And then on the base of my sleeves, I'll create a channel for my elastic. Remember that there is an elastic on the top we're about to recreate, so I'm just going to create a channel. And this is what I was saying, I have gathered my sleeves already. So you can decide to gather or you can decide to pleat, whichever you know how to do just. And now I'm going to pass the elastic through the channel I created for the elastic. Length I use is 11 inches, and remember the elastic stretches. So now I'll just use my safety pin to pass this elastic through the channel I created at the base of the sleeve. So go ahead and do that if you have created the channel, and make sure that the channel you create is enough for the elastic you have. The elastic here is a 1/2 inch elastic. If you're using a 1 inch elastic, make sure that the channel you're creating is 1 inch big. Now that I'm done, I'm just going to close this, but before I do that, I'll place my tape and make sure that I have 9.5 inches points. That is what I'll be using to attach, that is what I need to attach this sleeve to my top. So I'm just going to indicate that point, and then I'll sew this in straight to the base of the sleeves. Now this is it. I did it on the both sleeves, and this is what I have. You can see how puffy it is. So imagine if the sleeves is long. If I made it longer, you see how beautiful it becomes. But my fabric, I was running short of fabric, so that is why I did this. So you guys, I'll go ahead and attach the sleeves to the top, and that is how I was able to create my wrap top. And this is really, really beautiful, guys. This video is not even doing justice to what it looks like in real life. You guys, thank you for making me do this again, and I appreciate your requests. You guys, I love you so much. Keep up the creative work, and love and light to you wherever you are. I'll be seeing you guys on my next video. Bye.